All right, first off, I'd like to welcome home all our former players and alumni that are coming back this week. We've always have an open door to our former student athletes, and want them to understand this is a great opportunity for us to honor them and contributing for what they have, helped us build here. And that means a lot to us, and I'm really excited to get back home in front of our fans and get out there and compete and have a great day. So it's always great for homecoming to get to see a lot of guys, and I know our players will be very excited to be back home for that. We have to give UAB a lot of credit. We knew they were going to come out and give us their best shot, not only throughout the game, but even when we had a double-digit lead there in the first half, we knew in the second half they were going to come back out and really fight for everything, and we had to match that. And unfortunately, we didn't get the job done there in the second half. There's a number of different reasons. We got to coach better. Some of us need to coach better. Some of us need to do a better job of doing what they're coached to do, relaxing and making sure we make enough plays and cut down on our mistakes. To our guys' credit, I felt like we played very hard. I thought they came out excited and ready to go. Even there in the second half, we had some momentum changes that they kept a positive attitude. At the end of the day, we didn't play very smart. And we got to coach smarter. We got to play smarter there in the second half. And, it's going to be important for us as much as any is to make sure that we've come back. We got to reset, and we got to make sure that we correct those mistakes that we've made. Put this behind us and make sure we're, again, rebounding this week, understanding it's still going about, being 1-0 this week against a Rice team that is building their own culture, is trying to establish a toughness and a physicality with their team, and I know they're going to come in here excited and try to give us their best. So we still have a lot to play for. Again, like I told our men, I'm not disappointed in how hard you're playing or disappointed in the fact that we lost the game, but I'm disappointed we're not playing smarter, at times. Last year you look back, we won 9 games. We had to win 5 of those 9 in the fourth quarter. This season, we've lost a couple of those that in the fourth quarter when we had double-digit leads and, didn't do enough in the second half. I think both losses we ended up scoring 6 points in the second half. So we got to do a much better job overall.
You mentioned that as an offense in both of the losses. What do you want to see from your offense as far as consistency goes this week against Rice?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things. Again, it's not players, just players. It's both. It's players and coaches. We got to do a better job of coaching them, making sure they understand what they're getting, understanding, how we're going to attack it and put them in good situations. At the same time, we got to do what we're coached to do. You look at in the second half, we crossed the 45-yard line, the plus 45, I think 4 times. We have a 4th and 2. We have a mental error up front that have a look that we feel very good into and have an error there. We have it on the 35. We have another bus that gets a sack and pushes us out of field goal range. We get the ball down to the 5, and unfortunately we have a turnover. We had our opportunities. We have a 3rd and 1 and a 4th and 1 at I think the 38. We didn't get either one of them. So again, it's both coaches and players alike. We had our opportunities in the second half. There weren't any adjustments to be made. They didn't play us any different in the second half than they did in the first half. Again, the difference was I think we played a little smarter in the first half, and some of it's, again, some of those mental mistakes are maybe pressing too hard as well. We got to make sure that just doing your job is good enough. You don't have to do too much and, just keep making the same routine plays. Again, unfortunately, we just didn't do that in the second half.
What have you seen from Rice's defense and how they align or how they're going to play and just heading into the week?
Yeah, they do a good. Hey, look, schematically, the X's and O's and the schemes are good. Defensively, they're going to give you multiple looks. They play out of a 3 and 4-man front. The thing they do very well, they mix up their coverages very well. They're support players. They're not scared to press you and play man, and then bell and some different techniques, trap the corners and some blitz. So they give you a lot of multiple looks, and I think their guys play extremely hard. I think they haven't had some of the success they would have liked, this season. But if you look on tape, the guys that they've played, they've had to make very competitive plays to score. And, that's going to be no different. We're going to have to play very well. And as you can see, you better come ready to play each and every week and respect your opponent and understand that if you're just a little bit off, it's a long day.
Hall returned last week. What did you see from him, and just how was he feeling?
I think he feels good. He came out, feeling pretty good. He had to come out a few plays. I think wasn't because of his injury. But I thought overall it was, I was glad to get him back in there, and he's a presence on that side of the ball. He's a good leader for us, and it was good to get him back in there.
You said that you guys didn't play very smart in the second half. What makes you say that with the things that happened?
Well, we have you have 2 mental errors inside the from the 45 on a 4th and 2 that doesn't move the chains, stay on the field and try to drive and get points. On the 35, we had a draw that ended up being sacked. We had a bust that turned a guy free, and it was a run pass draw. So we take a sack there, pushes us out of field goal range. On a 3rd and 4th and 1, we weren't. To me, that's it's a number of different things that are issues there, and driving down, we got to take care of the football, and we have exactly what we're looking for right there, and we don't execute the play the proper way, and so that's what I mean by making too many mistakes. It wasn't as much as what they did in those situations as much as what we did not do.
Not running the ball maybe as well as you did earlier in the year against the top teams, like Louisiana Tech and UAB. What's been the issue in terms of getting the running game going on some of those better teams?
Well, one, it's challenging to run the ball in that group. I mean, they are extremely big up front. At times we know what our strengths and our weaknesses are, and you got to try to put your team in the best situation to be successful. Not that I don't feel like we can run the football against those guys. I feel like if you mix it up well enough, if you got it rolling, you get them back on their heels. There's a number of different things you can do to attack. But you look at that team; they're extremely big and physical up front, and we just got to do a much better job of IDing the fronts and running the football in the second half. Of La Tech, I thought we ran the ball very well. We just didn't have as much success in the first half. Some of that was we didn't have as many opportunities. A couple of times against Louisiana Tech, we had I think it was kind of a few series there to where we had that fumble and then came back and it was kind of in almost a 2-minute situation, and then got the ball back late and ended the half. So there weren't as many opportunities to run the football as well. So that's something we understand as staff, and I've said, you got to be able to run the football. You got to be able to have some balance, spreading the ball around to different positions, and we got to coach it better. We got to do what we're coached better, and overall, we're at our best when we're clicking on all phases of the game.
Joe Zogu has had a bigger impact in the last 2 games. What have you seen from him, and what does he provide to this defense that is unique and that helps?
Well, he's a good quick twitch. He gets off that edge quickly. He causes some, he can cause some issues for some of those tackles, just being more athletic. I think he's starting to get more comfortable hitting those pressures better, and understanding kind of even when he's not pressuring, kind of his drop zones and what he's got to do in the zone coverage type stuff. And so he's coming along. We've been excited about him. He shows flashes of being very good. Just overall, just starting to become more consistent, which he should be.
With him and Jamie, what have you seen from that Jack linebacker spot? And
yeah, I think Jamie's been. Jamie's one of those guys. He's going to do exactly what he's coached to do. He's going to play extremely hard. Really like his attitude, and he's going to do whatever it takes. In order to help this football team wins. It's that important to him, and a lot of that's just, again, doing what you're coached to do. So it's very good having him in there with that consistency. And again, JoJo's growing into that and becoming more consistent, and as he's mature, and he's becoming a better player.
Coach, over the past week, you've had 5 players named to the Dave Campbell's All-Texas team, and EJ, Mason, Rico, Cole, and Nate Brooks. What have these players done to work their way into the conversation as some of the most talented players in the state?
I truly believe, again, not to take anything away from any one of those men, I think they've been consistent. They've played extremely well and hard, and they deserve, all those opportunities that they're getting. But I do believe within awards, you look at team awards, the more success you have as a team, that's what I tell our men, the more success you have as a team, as a family, the more, rewards and the more accolades that are going to come about for everyone. And so I think not to take anything away from their play, they've been consistent, they've done a great job. But again, I think we've been much better as a football team, which shows more, which in turn gives you a little bit more, gets you more noticed. So, I think those are the ultimate team sport in my opinion. It's hard to win a Heisman without being a pretty good football team as well,
That makes the cut for the Jim Thorpe Award. It seems like he's come a long way since the end of last year when he didn't start in the bowl game. Has he just made tremendous progress throughout the offseason at the beginning of this year?
Yeah, I think he has. And again, we've talked about this in the past. I think he's healthier than he's ever been. I think he's taking care of his body, which is huge. When you're able to practice, throughout the week and not having to take days off, it's hard to bounce back. Taking days off and then going in and playing on the weekend and being fully prepared to be at your maximum ability. And so I think he's been more consistent because of the way he's been able to work, to whereas in the past maybe we've had to set him down a little bit. And so he's been very consistent. And again, some of that is him not only growing as a player, some of it's the guys around him that are playing much better. Again, when you're getting pressure on the quarterback and he's getting antsy and he's having to throw it quickly, it's a lot easier to cover out there, when he's got pressure on him and/or other guys are doing their job. I think they're much more. They're a lot further along than we've been in the past, and I think that's why all of them have more success.
How much has your confidence grown defensively this year? It seems you guys have come such a long way. Do you see that in your players?
We have, and again, I thought they played extremely hard this past week. We made some. Where we struggle at times is when somebody doesn't do their job, in the sense of they're trying to do too much. There's a couple opportunities we had this past week to really get off the field, and plays that we knew were coming. We were, we got those guys exactly where they needed to be, and then one guy either, chases the running back, doesn't play the quarterback. And this defense, as much as we move, we blitz, we pressure, they got to do a great job. If everybody just does their job, and not trying to do too much, not trying to, make that tackle when it's not theirs. Sometimes, and that's challenging because, again, it's easy for us to sit here and say that, but, you want to make that play. And at times you just got to be smart about what your job is. And that's when we've gotten in trouble, that's kind of where it's been. It's whether it's been some previous game on some play action pop passes, maybe a corner getting his eyes in the backfield to stop the quarterback, and now his receiver's running down the field without him. So you got to be disciplined. But I think overall they're much better with that this year. They understand their leverage is better, the scheme, they're much more comfortable. And again, I think a lot has to do with having all those coaches back in the same room and being more comfortable with each other and being on the same page. That helps as well. So we are much, we're farther along, and there's no doubt we're more comfortable, and I think it's showing that on the field.
Yeah, is it just the type of defense that you guys play that it takes some time to get to that comfort level of what you're doing?
It's any scheme, there's no doubt, and it does take time, especially with, we do some different things. We're not, it's like preparing a little bit offensively for a triple option. It's something that you don't see every day. There's some moving parts to it, but once once you kind of get in the system and you understand the scheme, you know, it becomes it's pretty simple. But it's just to get in the reps, and it's like anything. Just the more reps you get, the more comfortable you get the guys around you, the better you're going to play.
Is it just gratifying for you and for these guys on a defense that they have gotten to that point after it's done?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we want to be able to play great defense here. And again, I think when it's all said and done, it's extremely hard to compete and win championships without a great defense. I mean, it takes all three phases doing their job. And I think, you know, as much as any, they came on this season with a chip on their shoulder, and they understood that we had to be much better for us in order to have success that we wanted. You know, to be honest with you, we need to be a lot more consistent offensively in order to do that.
How much credit does Coach Raffett get for, you know, getting you guys from that point last year to where you guys are this year?
Not only Coach Raffett, I mean, again, the whole staff. They've been together. You know, this past year, you know, I think we've been able to add some different wrinkles that have really helped us. You know, at times last year, just trying to get guys lined up in the right spot and hit the pressure. So I think at times we got kind of, I shouldn't say vanilla in our coverages, but it was easy to know what we were going to be in certain situations because of, you know, who we had and where we were, and kind of it takes time to evolve in the system. And I think he's done a great job of adding some tweaks and, you know, different things to help our guys. And again, they've worked well together.
Another guy that's come out a lot this year is Rico Bassi.
Yeah.
What have you seen from him in terms of his developments and what he's leading you guys?
Again, he's another guy that's, I think, overall been more healthy. You know, he's had some nicks and bruises up, you know, the last couple of years that have kind of hindered him as well. I think being able to practice full time, again, you go in there and you play much better when you understand fully what we're trying to get accomplished. But you can see, I mean, he's an explosive guy. You know, he's one of those guys that can catch a slant pass and take it the distance. I mean, you know, he's and it's a great situation that all those guys are in, because we got, you know, between him and JG, you got, you know, you got Guyton, Darden in the slot. You got Mike Law. I mean, we have some guys that it's hard for defenses to start overplaying one or the other. You know, as soon as they start trying to take put two over the top of Guyton, you know, Rico's a lot of times going to be one-on-one. As soon as they start trying to, you know, fan guys out and moving those safeties to our outside guys, you saw the night Darden had. You've seen them some of the nights, you know, Mike Law's had. So I think they all kind of complement each other very well. And again, each week's going to be a little bit different. At that position, it's one of those positions that you want the football, and so it's very important for you. You have to be a selfless teammate, and you have to continue to do your job, even though that some nights aren't going to be your night. It may be just like the other night. Darden had a huge night because of what they were trying to do, and so you just got to stay patient. And when it's your time to go, it's your time.
You mentioned before that you came out of Oklahoma from a town that wasn't particularly highly recruited, but you had some connections there.
Who's this?
Buston.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And
Rico came from a town that you mentioned before, what isn't a place a lot of people go. What was it about him that you thought that he would be such a great fit?
You know, one, I think I've recruited that area for a lot of years, and from way back from Texas Tech, you know, and just having grown up in that part of the state, and you know, knowing who they were and kind of their runs in the playoffs. You know, there's always a lot of great athletes in that area, and it's off the beaten path a little bit. It's not one of those places that is really easy to get to. I mean, you're going to fly into Oklahoma City and have a couple-hour drive, or fly into Dallas and have a 2.5-hour drive, whatever it is. So it's kind of off the path that, you know, if you're not recruiting this area hard, you're probably not getting to. But, I mean, you turn on the tape, it was pretty, I mean, for me, it's very easy to see that the talent he had. He was long, he was rangy, but he had a burst, and he had, you know, strong hands, great ball skills. And, you know, again, I was fortunate to have known the high school coach there at a number of those places. And so, you know, I kind of had an end to understand who he was as a person, his family background, and, you know, trying to research if he was a guy that really fit our culture. And, again, pretty much how it went.
Was he really highly sought after just because of his academic prowess as well?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has some interest, but again, I don't think he probably had the interest that he deserved, or that he's a really good football player. And again, I knew that we were getting a steal when he came here. I think the opportunities he had were well deserved, and probably should have had a lot more.
Good.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach.